Well, isn't this interesting? All these hurricanes, typhoons are really wreaking havoc on the planet, from the tropics all the way up to Canada. So it's obvious that we need to do something about climate change, and we need to do it ASAP, immediately. We need politicians who are talking about the climate, not talking about getting more oil and gas going, because that's just not going to work. The oil and gas companies have got another scheme up their sleeve so that they can keep pumping and drilling and spewing out CO2 for as long as they want. It's a scheme because it is a scheme. It's nonsense. It's absolute crap. We'll go up here and talk about it. Okay, let's talk about the oil companies' bullshit and what is next on the agenda. Exxon embrace of carbon capture in the Houston area just got a massive support from Congress. In other words, they're bamboozling Congress with this scheme. But environmentalists remain deeply skeptical. Exxon would allow the fossil fuel infrastructure to continue operating at full throttle for decades with this new scheme. Exxon said it could collect 50 million tons of carbon dioxide annually from the industry smokestacks by 2030. So what is their plan? Is to capture all this CO2 and they'll just store it until 2030. The company would then compress the gas and deliver it through hundreds of miles of new pipelines to inject it beneath the Gulf of Mexico. So in the ground, there's these old wells, these empty wells, and they would compress it down into these empty wells. And that's their plan on capturing CO2. The problem is that you can't capture CO2 at this time. And there probably will never be a time that you can capture each molecule of CO2 since there's so many different ones. So that energy company can keep on pumping and burning oil and gas for the indefinite future, which is just asinine. Don't fall for this nonsense. It would also require substantial government funding. Even if the world's current capacity for capturing carbon were increased by a factor of 10, it would equal only 1% of the global CO2 emissions. The U.S. and the world remain far off track for the larger goal of zeroing out greenhouse gas emissions by mid-century. So we've heard this before with their nonsense, is that they capture each carbon molecule and they store it underground in porous rock. But just the name of it, porous rock, means that it's porous, right? So how's it going to stay in the ground in the first place? It'll start coming up to the seabed and then bubbling up through the water table and of the oceans in the Gulf of Mexico. This is just asinine and stupid thinking, and the politicians that fall for it are just trying to greenwash their way through another term of taking money from the people and putting it in their own pockets through one scheme or another. Now, down in the description area, I have a politician who's real and who I've been following for a while now. And I think that he talks the talk of an environmentalist. And I've got the link down below of a YouTube video of him talking about the environment. So let's listen to him and put people like him into office. If we don't, we're going to be seeing hurricanes coming up, not only up in California, but further up north into Oregon and maybe even as far as Washington State. And we'll be seeing more and more hurricanes coming up all the way into Canada on the east coast of the U.S. And we're going to see bigger and bigger hurricanes and typhoons throughout the tropics of the world. And this is already starting to happen. It's not a when or if, it's already happening. So that's it. Make sure you go down and watch that other video of the politicians that are environmentalists. And let's make sure that we don't put any of the ones that aren't environmentalists into office, because all you're doing is kicking the problem down the road, and it keeps getting worse and worse. And you and I are the ones that are going to suffer through it. I appreciate all your comments on this, the ups and the new subscribers. And until next time, I sort of scared an owl that was sleeping on the trail, and that's what the bird is that you see flying away.